We'll just go ahead and edit that out for YouTube, but it seems to be back now. Restarted the computer, restarted Moto, and then like sat here for 5 minutes, and then all of a sudden it seemed like it started working. So let's hope it continues to work. Still some latency, but it seems like it's good enough to play. So we'll at least try to get a couple matches in. Maybe we'll have to stop or something, but who knows. So it shows pirate for that. Whenever this enters the battlefield with a 1-1 counter. Oh, that's kind of a cool card. A little 2-3. Wow, that card's pretty sweet. Still having some latency though, as you guys can see, so maybe the matches won't go well. Well, working's a very loose term right now. It's seem to be playing this game. Let's at least put it that way. But like you can see, like I've clicked Glacial Fortress and it took 3 or 4 seconds to even put it into play. I'm not really dropping frames though, so I don't think it's me. I actually think it's Moto. Maybe the server I'm on Moto. But you can't change servers on Moto, so like you're just stuck at whatever it is. And I don't want to take the extra damage, so I'm going to go ahead and use the Meltdown here. And makes Azcanta a little weird. Yeah, I think it's Moto. I don't think it's me. I done a speed test, and my test seems about, or my speed seemed about normal. It's a little bit slower on the up end, but not slower enough, you know. It was like slower by like 0.3. Like it wasn't slower enough for this to be an issue, I don't think. Deals combat damage to a player for each kind of counter on target permanent or player. Give the that card's cool too. I like opponent's deck. I like opponent's deck a lot. Well, I think I plan on casting this next turn, so I'm not sure if I care if they resolve anything on this particular turn. So I think I'm just going to cast Azcanta and go on about our day. I don't want to really blame Moto. Like Moto has record numbers of players right now. So like maybe it's not really Moto's fault. Maybe they wasn't expecting like this many players. Like World of Warcraft and Ultima Online and all sorts of other games that I've played, when they've hit record numbers of players, they've got laggy and unplayable as well. So we'll just have to see. Like I don't blame latency, or I don't blame Moto for having some latency on days like this though. Unless he plays a Planeswalker, I plan on cycling to cast out this turn because I want to get as close as I can to having a backup. Like, I want to try to find a second Fumigate in case he has a counter spell for the Settle the Wreckage. Most cards are going to the bottom here. I can't imagine many cards that we'd keep on top. Well, we certainly didn't want a second approach in that spot, but yeah, I'm still not really dropping that many frames. I'm dropping like 3.5, which is about normal for me. I find it funny that my first startup, when there was actual no magic and me just complaining about issues, there was 13 people in here, and there's only 6 now that we're playing magic. It's just kind of awkward, in a way. So he's going to leave one behind and play around Settle the Wreckage a little? Well, that means he probably doesn't have a counterspell then, so... Hey, Chris. Hey, Chris added us to his auto host. That's pretty sweet. Chris was the sweet Abzan deck that we played versus yesterday. Man, that deck was a lot of fun. They still have a pretty good clock in play. We need to find some lands, and we need to find like another Wrath or something. This card's actually pretty good if there's enough 1-drops. Irrigated farmland to the graveyard. Probably. We'll probably find a land off the Glimmer, so. Another Settled Wreckage? Alright, I guess we'll keep both of these on top then. Because we want to play a land this turn and we definitely want some kind of Wrath of God. So what's everybody else been into today? What have you guys been into? Anybody did anything sweet or fun? Or dare say sexy? You guys done anything sexy today? I gotta get on a better sleep schedule. My sleep schedule has been thus miserable. So it's a Supreme Will. I'm going to go ahead and put it in the graveyard because I want to flip the Azcanta for sure. The odds of them having Negate main deck's pretty low, but the odds of them having Spell Pierce seems reasonably high. So even though the Supreme Will is a pretty decent card in that spot, being able to pay for the Spell Pierce, if they do have it, seems pretty relevant. I will not be drafting on Cav. Saturdays, if it was Sunday, I would probably go, but Saturdays is our Commander Challenge on Modo, and that's where we make the majority of our ticks right now. So we can't really give up. The Commander Challenge. So if he's got a negate, he's just got us. There's nothing we can do about it. And if he doesn't have a negate, we have a 2-turn clock right here. I would like to go. A lot of pros like Martin Juza and stuff have said this set's terrible. I think this set actually looks really nice. And I'm pretty pumped for at least trying it in draft. But the Commander Challenge is 1v1, yes. Which reminds me, at some point, me, Corey, and Ricky need to put some thought into what Ixalan cards we want to add to our little deck. I've got a few ideas of cards that look pretty sweet. I mean, if I wake up and the power's out again like the last 2 days, the power's been out the last 2 days for me when I've woke up in the morning, then sure, I'd get up and come. But like I'm saying, I wouldn't be planning on coming. So the Settled Wreckage has earned her keep this game. Let's start with this. I guess I should play the land first just so I could hit F6. Yeah, probably be the same deck. I think that deck's still very good. Can look into Breya. We still can't afford Leovode, so Leovode's not on the options, but alright, so he's playing like kind of like sweet blue-black tempo-ish pirate deck. He's gonna have some counterspells post board. That's pretty easy to figure out. The Regal Caracols probably need to come in because he could have Lost Legacy and a bunch of discard spells. For the same manner, I believe the Torrential Gearhulk should come in. It's actually hard for the blue-black decks to deal with Torrential Gearhulk at the moment, outside of Vraska's Contempt, which is a card that he may or may not have in post board versus us. They don't seem particularly fast, so I think the Glimmers are still good enough to keep in the deck. But overall, I didn't see anything that I wanted to cast a Supreme Will on. So right off the bat, like, Supreme Wills are the first things that I'm thinking about putting into the sideboard. I don't know what else. I've been cutting a cop, or I've been cutting one opt versus these aggro decks, but the more and more I think about opt, the more and more I think there should be 4 in the main deck and that I should never be considering them. Should never be considering cutting them. So, that being said, I think I'm still going to cut it in this particular game. Or maybe I should just cut the Search for Azcantha's. Search for Azcantha's just seem bad versus the slow decks, but Gabriel Nassif's a pretty big fan of them, and if he's that big of a fan of them, maybe there's an argument that I should just keep them in versus every match. Well, our frames have started jumping up a lot. Hey, Flame Guts, welcome back, man. Glad to see you. Little Storm Tamer. I thought this card's name was Stormcaller all the way up until like 3 minutes ago. I noticed one laying on my desk. I don't even know where it come from, but I like looked down and I was like, man, a little Stormcaller. Wait, that doesn't say collar. What weird world do I live in that this card is titled wrong? But whatever. But yeah, Flames, I don't know if you could hear me earlier. I don't know if I was breaking up or whatnot, but I don't really think Bontu's good enough. I think Fumigate's just good enough for anything that you want Bontu, and I don't like the double black. The Oketra, or whatever, or however you pronounce it, is a lot more interesting. I can see that card definitely being playable. I already want to be trying it in my Ad Nauseam in Modern. But I apologize for not being able to get back to the messages or anything today. Like, our power went out this morning. Oh, the Bontu God. No, the Bontu God seems reasonable. The Bontu's God could do things. But yeah, my power went out this morning, then it come back on for like a half an hour period, and then it went back out. So like, I don't know. I'm very behind on everything. Which is also one of the reasons I've not advertised the quote unquote 365, because I don't think I'm going to be able to accomplish it where I live. Oh, I didn't even mean to click that if I did. I like the Montu's God. The Montu's God could be a way to breaking open some of the grindier matches. The Enchantment Greed might be a way to break open those matches as well. If you're talking about the Okecha God, I was talking about the one that lets me gain 20 life or whatever. If you're talking about the White God, I've saw some of those in lists before. They seem pretty reasonable out of the sideboard for the grindier matches, but like the grindy matches typically right now are just killing you with a 7-mana approach, right? So it feels to me like all you have to do is resolve a Lost Legacy and you beat them. Doesn't feel to me like you really need to. I like how this can't target creatures. I could have cycled both my sensors, but I'm afraid I might hit a spell that I actually want. So I'm fine with him taking the first sensor and then me just cycling the second sensor and getting 2 draw steps. When I first read this card, I didn't read the non-creature clause on it. And I was like, oh my god, that's the most broken thing I've ever saw. Thought it was just like a 1/2 flying Mesmeric Fiend or something. Thought it was ridiculous. Spoiler, by the way, Ricky and Corey, this is a card we'll probably be adding to our deck. Well, there's a kill condition, I guess. It's got 3 points of flying. Probably going to have some kind of discard spell, more discard spells, or counter spells. So, like, we can't rely on that. We're going to have to find something before then. There's a cat. You know, if we just hit a land, playing a cat on 5 and a cat on 6 might be good enough versus what we see. It's actually probably very much good enough versus what we see. Depends on what his follow-ups are. Like if he's got another one of those raid flyers, then it's probably not big good enough, especially because the raid flyer's already a 2-3. He's already solved this land, so we'll just go ahead and show him this one. So that's 5 down to 9, which means we will be getting a cat in play if he doesn't have a counterspell. 9 back to 4. So hopefully he doesn't have 4 damage worth of flyer, or 4 damage worth of stuff to put on the board. And if he somehow does have 4 damage, we can still draw to Fumigate because he'd be tapped out at that point. That's 1 point. Red Rober, send no counterspell on over. He's only got 2 cards in hand, so even if he does have an answer for this, we'd be able to top deck exactly a Fumigate if he doesn't have a second counterspell. So if he doesn't have a second counterspell, we still have an out. He's not playing lands or creatures though, so I assume he's got a second counterspell. Alright, let's find out. The moment of truth. Do you have a Spell Pierce? The answer to that question was no. No Spell Pierce. We didn't really get to make any decisions this game. Like, I don't think we could play anything differently than how we played it. We have a low enough life here that I'm just going to jam the cat. I think if he had a counterspell last turn that he would have held up the counterspell as opposed to playing a random creature. So I assume this cat can actually just end the game or put it back in our parity. Yeah. So he popped the counterspell for the cat, which he probably had to pop the counterspell for the cat, but I mean he might have been able to race it. I don't know. It feels a little early on that counterspell. So let's just go ahead and pop open the new match. I actually need to pop this up too. Sorry, guys. Scoot this over here. You guys don't need to see this screen. There we go. So what have you been into today, Mr. Flame Guts? Hey, we're up to 14 people. Tonight's night will be short, by the way. I can only do the one stream. I'm actually have something I'm supposed to do in the next hour and 13 minutes. Unfortunately, I'm going to be late to getting to the thing that I was going to do, and mostly because of the equipment issues we've had. I guess it's not even technically equipment issues. It was the moto lag, or it was whatever. What's been your favorite that you've tested around with so far? Oh yeah, so this hand's also a keep. I don't think I saw your Mardu Jank list. I find it funny that you're calling the deck Mardu Jank. So the F2 button's not working now. Come on, Moto. Work for us, brother. There you go. It's working again. It's kind of weird that it wouldn't work on my turn. So we got double sensor on the play, which always brings boys to the yard. Hey. That's the one that you showed us in chat the other day, now that I think about it. Yeah, that deck looked pretty fun. So, Lige shows up when I make that type of joke to just completely and utterly embarrass me. What in the world is this thing? It makes a 1-1 and then stacks for another 1-1? Eh, my sensors don't get any better than this versus his deck, probably. I do have to actually tap blue mana, though. That's good. You over the flu and everything? You're not coming to infect me, are you? Your superpower to show up right when Ray-Ban's embarrassing himself? That's fair. Do you still play Magic? Hidden stockpile. Well, that's disappointing. Do you have the flu too, Flame Guts? So many people I know have the flu right now. No magic for Lige. Okay, fair enough. Occasional cube. Cube's pretty fun. Oh, and a pre-release. How many people was that Cavs pre-release? You may not even live in Wise anymore. I have no idea. Man, if I had the flu, I would not be watching a stream right now. I would be asleep. Him getting that in play doesn't seem much different than him putting it in his graveyard. It's like it slows it down a turn, but 30ish, that's a pretty good amount. Nate's down in that area too, isn't he? Kingsport. Fair. So we want at least one of those. Our effort meltdowns are pretty useless in this match. This match is really about just trying to get to approach as fast as humanly possible because, for the most part, they win very, very slow in like one fumigate if you can keep a anointed procession off the table. One fumigate's generally enough to like not die. So we'll be cycling to, unless he plays a good 4-drop, we'll be cycling the sensor on this turn and then using what information we get after that. Sure. So put him bottom with his scry. So we'll go ahead and sensor first. We might hit a cast out, and if we hit a cast out, we would use it. That's not a cast out, but it is better than using the Supreme Will, so. Gotta get that F6 value going on here. So there's our 7th land and an approach. I believe we'll just take both. There's an Azcanta, too. It's my favorite new card, Lige. I don't know if you've read it, but Azcanta is... makes Fact or Fiction look weak, son. I am as well. We're probably not running Search in that deck, but we are probably running several Ixalan cards. Search doesn't really add to the board. It seems a little too slow for an aggressive slanted EDH deck. Anointed Procession's definitely good enough to get the will, the supreme of the wills. The supremest of wills. I do like the fact that Search for Azcanta actually lets us get back to the approach pretty quickly as well. Sure, we'll put one into our graveyard. Oh. Or we could just draw a second approach and not really care. Well, it's 7 cards down. I'll make a note of it. He could have a discard spell or something, so... It's good to know if he has a discard spell. So the Search for Azcanta alone, like the River Mill's 4, and then you have the 5th one for your draw step, and your 6th one for your second draw step. So the Search for Azcanta alone guarantees that opponent only gets one more turn. Well, I mean, opponent could have Lost Legacy, or he could kill us or whatever. I mean, what I'm saying is it guarantees us that within our opponent getting one untapped draw step, we get it back. Really? I've always heard that game was actually very well designed. Hey, Matt, what are you into, man? I've never tried it, and I don't think it's super popular where we live, but I've heard it's very well designed. So, again, it's very similar to the last match. I believe that they have the access to Lost Legacy, and if they have the access to Lost Legacy, we want the full allotment of the sideboard win conditions. The problem with that is these sideboard win conditions aren't really good enough if opponent gets his stuff going. Galsim, it is going amazing. We're currently 14-2 and we're ahead of game. The deck's been unreasonably strong. The effort meltdowns themselves in this match seem particularly bad because you're just using it on 1/1s. I'm actually interested in playing more living card games in general. The Supreme Wills aren't great. The only counter spells that you actually want to counter are like Anointed Procession and like Lost Legacy. There's an argument to bring the Councils in because they just gain you a crap ton of life, but I really don't think it's worth it. I actually think you have enough time that we can sideboard out one approach because he probably is a Lost Legacy deck as well. Red Deck Wins seems to be our worst match. Every match that we've played versus Red Deck Wins has been just an absolute battle. Also, decks like Reanimator and Black-White Tokens, some of the slower black decks that are very resilient, that can sideboard in Lost Legacy, are very hard. Like, you don't have to worry about Lost Legacy from like the black-green energy decks and stuff like that because your Cats and Torrential Gearhulks can just beat them. But it's really hard for your Cats and your Gearhulks to be able to beat the Reanimator decks and be able to beat the Black-White Tokens decks. So, Lost Legacy is a real threat from those matches. So this hand's everything we want, but not enough lands, and that's going to be a common theme. Your hand's always going to look amazing when you don't have enough lands because you have obviously more spells in your hand. And then this hand looks terrible, but I do believe it's a keep. The last living card game that I actually looked at was the Star Wars living card game. It started looking like it was getting popular in this area, and then it just like kind of went away. Is it the Thundermo list? I noticed him streaming earlier today, but I did not get a chance to actually watch any of him. Thank you for following, Sif Joker. Appreciate the follow, man. Someday, somewhere over some rainbow, I assure you guys, I will get some kind of alerts. I think Azcanta is more important than knowing we can use a cast out. No, I'm talking about the actual card game, not the X-Wing game. Like the actual card, the living card game. 50-ish. Wow. No. There's a living card game for sure. I'm positive there's a living card game. So yeah, this is one of the scary cards, which is why we brought in the 4 or the 6 alternate win conditions. Let me pull it up on Cool Stuff. Star Wars living card game. It's from Fantasy Flights. There we go. It looked really good, and it was getting a little popular here, and then that kind of went away. A while back, Cool Stuff had a Glacial Fortress in the Graveyard. Yes, a while back, Cool Stuff had a big sale on that stuff, and I was wanting to buy it all, but I was afraid I wouldn't have people to play with. Wish there were a non-creature win con for this sideboard. Nah, that's unfortunately something that there just isn't. We could be more controlling and try to win with more deserts, maybe. But hey, Taravon, that's Brian Smith, if I remember correctly. How you doing, man? Not saw you in forever. And welcome back, JJ. Still, it's nice to see you around as well. So this one would get our cats, and we would still have the win condition in our Gearhulks, but the Gearhulks seem too thin versus him. So I'm willing to counterspell the one that's trying to target the cats. The Glacial Fortress, we're not going to put that one in his graveyard because I want to go ahead and cast out this thing before he gets any value out of it. Doing real good, man. Yeah, I've heard amazing things about Netrunner as well. I've actually never saw anybody play it. The original collectible card game Netrunner was a game that I liked more. Wow, 3 of them in a row. Well, that's a problem. Was a game that I actually liked more than Magic the Gathering when it come out, but like it never really took off. I thought the original game was very, very good. Alright, so this game's going to be very hard. The only way that we have to deal damage in the rest of our deck now is Torrential Gearhulks. We're already 7 cards deeper than him, and we have an Azcanta out, so we're probably not going to be able to beat him with our 3 deserts. Supreme Will to the graveyard? Probably not. Just put the Supreme Will in our hand. Anointed Procession is a must counter. It's just one of his amazing value cards. Well, don't give spoilers away, Local. Maybe you wanted to watch. I mean, it seems like they chose well. It just made me a little sad because I really liked Netrunner back then. Way to give out the spoilers, Local Dope. I mean, it was honestly insanely good. I still have my cards somewhere, I believe. They're probably in storage, which means they're probably destroyed. But I believe I do still have them. I wonder if I'm supposed to just try to beat him with our deserts. We'll keep that. It lets us cast the Gear Hulk, and the Gear Hulk lets us start dealing damages. I was kind of sad that we didn't get the double 5-0. Losing the teamer when we were up a game was a little heartfelt, but like, I mean, that happens. We've ran really good in certain spots, so we can't be upset when we run bad in certain spots either. So he wants to cast out and get his Fang back. I think his Fang would just let him run away with the game. So I'm actually going to use a counterspell on it. If Moto will ever let me use the counterspell. Thank you, Moto. Alright, let's try that again. Thank you, Moto. I appreciate you let us using our spell. So we're kind of out of gas here. Opponent had triple Lost Legacy, though. I mean, what do you do? Here, triple Lost Legacy is kind of good. It's going to be a very hard game to win from this point on. Just like very, very hard. Oh, I wish Ricky was watching. I forgot to tell Ricky something earlier. Put an island in our graveyard. Snap yes. Draw an island that doesn't really do a whole lot. And get across the table for 5. Hey, thanks for following, Brian. I appreciate it, man. Sorry, I don't have any cool alerts or anything. I'm not computer smart. Eek! That's a problem. That is in fact a problem. Well, we know what the red's for now. The red's for a pretty sweet card. And we'll go ahead and cast the Glimmer now. I forgot to tell him that I believe that the deck should have a certain number of the Colorless Wasteland, I believe is what I forgot to tell him. I think it's good enough to keep the Supreme Will. I don't think I'm going to keep the Plains. So we're now 13 cards deeper than our opponent. Supreme Will might help us find another cast out, and the Supreme Will also lets us flip the Search for Azcanta even if we choose not to put a card in our graveyard. So it gets a little bit of added benefit from both of those. Right, so he's just gaining life? That's interesting. Well, we see why he's gaining life now. And it's not going to work out well for him. Alright. I'm positive I tapped that for blue. Alright, so Moto's just not letting me cast my spell again. There you go, Moto. Thank you. I like how I have just like random colorless land in my graveyard because I was fighting with Moto. Yep, there's only one more Gear Hulk in the whole deck at this point. So we can flip Azcanta now, no matter what. Do we want to put a Fuming Gate in our graveyard? Sure. We don't need more counter spells, and we definitely want to flip that. So we're looking for a cast out here. So we have enough mana to actually do just literally everything while we look for the cast out. Wow. I don't actually want to discard that card, do I? That lets me look too many cards down. Oh, we don't want you. We don't want you. And we found a cast out. So I'm going to cast out the token and attack the Planeswalker here, because if I cast out just the Planeswalker or whatever, he could find his own cast out later. Sure. We're still not in the greatest shape, especially when he put on top with that scry. Like, we're making our way through his cards, but we're not making our way through his cards easily. We'll probably have to find at least another cast out. Legion's Landing. Alright, that's fine. That doesn't change too much. It's another issue, though, and another reason that we should probably have a Radaroon in our deck. Or, sorry, a Fielderoon? I'm not actually sure what it's called. The New Wasteland. Well, we don't want either of those. Got another Settled Wreckage. So we're certainly going to have to find more cast outs. We're up to 26 people to watch us get crushed by this interesting deck. Okay, Fielderoon, there you go. Oh, a second hour, or a second in stockpile. That's what I refer to as a real problem, friends. A real problem. He did that one without a scry as well. Sure. Nothing we can do about it. He scryed to top again. Go ahead and always yield to those triggers. Always yield to that trigger. Always yield to all the triggers. Alright. So I'm going to cast a Glimmer here, because the Glimmer can get a Gearhulk where the Azcanta can't get a Gearhulk. Put that on bottom, and the Gearhulk on top. So it's another Fumigate. Kind of in an interesting spot with the other Fumigate. We're like one land shy from being able to Fumigate and play the Gearhulk. Well, that's just not the land that I wanted whatsoever. Alright. Well, that's an issue too. So I assume he's just not going to block here, because he's wanting to flip his Legion Landing. Which means I probably have to use the Azcanta to look for another cast out. Targeting the Legion Landing, though, feels like something that makes us lose the game more than win it. Alright, well, to see what's happening here. See if he plays something pre-combat or anything. Could just kill one of his dudes, but that doesn't seem particularly good either. Don't target the landing? I'm not sure why not to target the landing. Like, I can't beat the landing, and once it flips to land, I can't get it off the table ever. Yes, we do have one more cast out. We're certainly not in good shape anymore. This lets him start everything back up, which is a problem. Top again. Please, less tops, thank you. Just going to keep attacking him, I guess. I mean, we can't beat the Legion landing out anyway, so. Sure. Looks like there's 3 or 4 minutes left on this game, and there's some number of minutes left the next game, so probably need to play a little bit faster. He can't attack with the good one at all, can he? Alright, we'll just go ahead and settle the wreckage. You can see that it's not my fault for playing slow. Like, Moto is just literally just sitting here doing nothing. An anointed procession. Well, luckily for us, we have this thing. Not sure how we're going to beat the board from here, but that's fine. We like have to find our 4th cast out and start weeding through his tokens. Yeah, there's only 8 minutes and 31 seconds left, so like, I'm not going to be able to finish this game and play next game. There's also only 17 cards left on our deck. So basically, we're just going to attack, 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 and hope it's enough. At some point, he has to brick a draw step or two as well, I would imagine. But he did put on top yet again, and he kept an Evolving Wilds this time. It's kind of odd. Would use the settled wreckage here. Yes, we do need to cast out a stockpile. And this is the last relevant spell in our deck, so like we literally get to make no decisions the rest of the game. We just have no decisions to make the rest of this game. I can just untap and press F6 over and over and over. And pray that it's good enough. Which it probably won't be, but... But it could be. Yeah, we currently win a race, but like he's got a bunch of scries, so I'm just assuming at some point that he'll find something that beats what we can do. And we have nothing to interact with him in the rest of our deck. It's like literally this. He bricks on 2 or 3 draw steps in a row and we have an okay chance. There's 1 brick. Don't care about any card in our hand. Took the center? That's kind of weird. So the first card he puts on top probably beats us. Well, he put a card on top, so the game's probably over. Second Anointer Priest? Alright, well the game's not over on that one. We get to keep doing this stuff. It would not shine, it would kill 4 of our cast outs. We'd lose beyond easy if we had that. Pretty much can't win here. He literally has to brick like 4 turns in a row. That's not bricking. Oh, well, maybe it is. Never mind. That was just another anointer. What is this? It's a bunch of mana. Alright, that's game. So we have 7 minutes. Hopefully our opponent won't have 1,000 cast outs. Or 1,000 Lost Legacy. So what did we learn this game? We learned that opponent doesn't have Regal Caracal. He's on the Sunmare plan. And that he has Planeswalkers. And that he has more than 2 or 3 lost. That he has more than 1 or 2 Lost Legacies. He has a minimum of 3 Lost Legacies. Which makes me think negates get a heck of a lot better with that information, and Supreme Wills get a heck of a lot worse. So we're going to run this, and we're not going to play perfectly this game. We're not going to play perfectly this game at all. We have 7 minutes, and Moto's lagging very badly, so I apologize in advance if like I punt it off or make a very bad mistake. But again, there's going to be a lot of F6ing and a lot of not paying attention this game. We'll play first. We mulliganed last game too, didn't we? We'll keep. Azcanta eats up clock real bad. It like took 7 seconds or something for us to even play a land there. Cats are not pointless. Cats can win the game pretty easily if he doesn't have a good draw, I think. And you have to have an alternate win condition because of Lost Legacy. If you don't have an alternate win condition, you just die when they cast Lost Legacy. We don't ever want to put a cast out in our grave. I would cycle this cast out if he played a spell. Hey, Teravon, thanks for the 80 bits, man. Actually, screw the cast out. I've already hit F6. Yes, to the grave you go. Come on, Len, play. It's really not our fault for playing slow. You can see that Moto's like taking 3 or 4 seconds to even put a land in play. Like, I probably end the stream and end this game very quickly. Win or lose. I mean, I'm not saying I'd win, but like, I could easily get past 6 minutes. Sure. The only way to play. Appreciate it, Brian. So opponent doesn't have anything that seems relevant. Bottom top. Upkeep. I have no... I should just go ahead and press stop to that. Plains to the graveyard? Nah, we'll take a plains. Just gonna play the cat and hope his draw's bad. If it's just a horse or whatever, like we can cast out a horse and start attacking. I need to click always yield to Mass Canta. So it's just a lost legacy. Makes me even happier that we played the cat. Now we have the opportunity to potentially draw a second cat. Alright, so he's taking our approaches. Hey, thanks for the follow, River Tranced. I apologize if I'm playing kind of poorly right now. We're down to about 5 minutes on the clock trying to end the game 3. Always yield to you. Yes, we'll put that plains in the graveyard. I should have played the plains. He technically had saw the island, but again, just trying to click super fast right now. That's fine. Oh, he's just drawing cards? Whatever. I don't care about him drawing cards. There's very little he could play right now that would make me not use the Gear Hulk into a Glimmer. But to see what he has. I have not saw or tested Esper Approach, no. So this could just be a cast out from him. We're fine with that being a cast out from him. We have our own cast out if we need it back. Pretty well just looking for a cat here. Bottom. Top. It's a cat. Might not be good enough, like I said. We don't really have time to play out this game properly. I'll probably put anything in the graveyard at all that's not a cat, or that's not a cat. So basically we're trying to dodge Fumigate from him. So if he blocks, he probably has a Fumigate, and he'll probably beat us. Well, he might not beat us. We'll still have to cast out to get our Gear Hulk back, but... I'm pressing F6, so I can't even cycle to cast out right now if he does have it. Or like if he casts like a Duress or whatever, like he can just get our cast out. There's nothing I can do about it. Oh, very nice. So he doesn't have a Fumigate, it looks like. Could have Settle to Wreckage though, so I actually have to pay attention to Settle to Wreckage. Don't have to pay attention to it if we find a negate. Alright. So don't care about any of that. Don't have to worry about the settled wreckage at all now. I like how I've already clicked once that I want to always yield to that trigger, and it's still just not going to let me always yield to that trigger. So 4 plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 16. That's not lethal. So just bash with them all. He could still have a Wrath of God or something, so it's not necessarily GG. We have quite a few ways to try to get a negate in our hand, though. Alright, so it was GG. So I was a little worried, but we got to finish the game in about 3 minutes. So up to 15-2. Yeah, this moto lag's killing us, and it's making the gameplay a lot more interesting. Matt wants me to remove all of these stops, but these stops aren't normally an issue. It's just an issue today where, or the issue the last few days where the moto lag has been so bad where so many users are on. But like when I take them out, I'm more likely to skip through a phase now because I played 10 years with all the phases or whatever. By the way, hello Bruno and hello Frag Nerds. I don't think I've saw you guys around before. I appreciate you stopping by tonight. So I was supposed to log off 31 minutes ago, but I don't want to log off in the middle of a league. Was it 31 minutes ago? Maybe I have another hour. I'm not sure. We've been live an hour. I'm pretty sure I was supposed to log off 31 minutes ago. I don't know. Let's look. No? Nope. I was supposed to log off in 28 minutes. But whatever. We're going to finish at least the league as long as the internet's... Well, Blade, we tried to come online earlier and our internet was out. The problem is I have something to do at 11 p.m. tonight. So I'm going to at least finish the league, though. Or I'm going to try to finish the league. I can do without what I planned on doing. Oh, for those in here tonight, tomorrow's stream will be in AM hour time. Or AM Eastern time because I plan on going to my local Friday Night Magic tomorrow, so I won't be able to stream during these hours. League of Legends Worlds, Matt. I've already watched 40-some hours of it. Like, missing any of it seems kind of bad. But I'm going to my local draft tomorrow. So. Or planning on going. I don't like saying I'm going to do something because you don't know. I could wake up and friggin' have a case of the shingles. Who the hell knows? But like, I plan to go. I feel like when I say I'm doing XX, it's like I'm tempting fate. World started 7 days ago or whatever. Right now it's in the playing stages. The 2 matches tonight will determine who makes it into the playoff rounds. Alright, well, we'll go ahead and opt now. An approach. We'll certainly put an approach on top. Having a second approach in this match is actually kind of interesting and kind of good. It makes your opponent need a second approach. I'm going to leave up to Supreme Will. I can't imagine anything I would use it on that he would play this turn, but... Pretty much. I don't know if I told you, by the way, Matt, but I did my promos and I got Gold 3. And I immediately, stopped playing ranked. You've missed 2 entire group stages, but like I said, neither of those group stages mattered very much. The matches from yesterday mattered, and the matches tonight matter, but the previous 4 days didn't matter very much at all. So I would censor a draw 2, only because I put very little value on my censor. Alright. He apparently puts enough value on it to to not cast it. Could have everything he needs, could not have draw spells, who knows. Unfortunately, we were on the draw this game, and the person on the draw in the mirror is very unfavored. I think we are a massive favorite versus the dinosaur decks. If they draw multiple Carnage Tyrants, that can be a bit of an issue, but the approach deck, for the most part, feeds on the mid-range green decks. Like, mid-range green's what I want to play versus non-stop, and when they don't have access to negate like Temur does, it makes it even better. If you tell me I was going to play versus nothing but dinos, I wouldn't even consider playing another deck. Alright, so we don't have a land drop, so we're going to go ahead and cycle a counterspell. We're going to keep nothing but a land. Well, we didn't hit a land, so I guess we're going to keep something but a land. Go ahead and cycle this thing. Again, looking for a land. Looking for a land in all the wrong places. That is also not a land. Temur, again, you're a favorite versus Temur, but like you'd prefer not to play versus it if you don't have to. The negates out of the sideboard causes a little bit of issue. Game 1, you're a massive favorite. Red is one of your harder matches. Well, there's our lands. Hello, lands. Welcome. Welcome, lands. The mono red match is pretty hard. Hey, IQ Scarecrow, what are you into, man? Just gonna go ahead and cycle this for the F6 value. We really just need to hit a land, because if we don't or an untap land, because if we don't hit an approach on 7, we have very little chance. This mirror match is fairly miserable though, and whoever casts the first approach first and whoever goes first have two large favorites. So he's got the first approach. If he's got the second approach in his hand already, we're just dead. Looks like we don't even have a land to like play our own approach. And with no hard counter spells, like they can always just wait to a point where they play an approach or to where we play 7 mana and then we lose. Another deadish card. Can't really cast our approach here. He can just untap and win and doesn't have to worry. Our best plan now is just trying to get that one approach out of his hand with a Rivulet and hope that he's not drawn a second approach, which isn't something you can really hope for. So we know his approach is 6 cards down. So if he has any draw spell whatsoever, he can get his approach. So now we know it's 2 cards down. And now we know it's 1 card down. And like I said, there's just nothing that we can do to stop him from getting it. Could have cast a Rivulet, but if he had another card draw spell, he just gets it anyway. Alright, so he's trying to draw the approach. So we're just going to go ahead and do this now. If he has another card draw spell for it, that's great. It looks like he didn't. He let our Rivulet resolve. But he could just have a second approach pretty easily. Well, and the thing is, where we don't have hard counter spells, like, we can't just sit here and play this one game all day. So we're just going to cast this, and if he has a second approach, he's going to win. There's not a lot we can do about that. It's pretty easy for him to have a second approach. He's already 28 cards deep in his deck. Well, he did not have a second approach. And we're just going to hard slam our other approach. Again, he'll have a counterspell here, almost assuredly. But he doesn't seem to have a Supreme Will in his hand. So it'd probably need to be a Censor, which he may have cycled already. Alright. Because if he had a Supreme Will, he would have used it in response to our Rivulet earlier to put the approach in his hand. So that gives us a good idea that he doesn't have... No, again, he couldn't have had a Hulk either. Like, he would have had to have drawn one, because if he had a Rivulet or a Hulk, the turn that he used a Rivulet on himself and that we responded using our Rivulet, he would have used either one of those cards to put the approach in his hand, as opposed to letting it go to his graveyard. So the only card we were really worried about there was Censor, but again, he would have cycled Censor in that exact same spot to again draw the approach. So it was a pretty. I mean, he had a draw step and the Censor, so like maybe he'd hit something, but like just the odds were in our favor that he didn't, and we were going to get the Glimmer the next turn and play an approach. You can't wait versus them. Those basically the point I'm trying to get at is you just can't wait, and that was the best spot we were going to get. Anyway, so we want all of our counter spells versus them. We don't want any of these meltdowns. We don't want any of these wreckages. And we're gonna experiment with taking out the Fumigates. I used to leave Fumigates in because of Regal Caracals, but with the Azcantas and our own Regal Caracals, I don't think we need Fumigates anymore. I think Fumigates just gets us in this like weird trouble spot. And I think Caracals can win a very controlling game now, because the Azcanta give you so very much play. The Azcantas add a complete dimension to the mirrors. I think I'm going to keep this hand. We have the only card in our hand that really matters, and we have Cycle. I think this hand's a keep. These decks are slow as sin. Yeah, we're trying Gearhulks again today. We're just trying to be more and more controlling post-board. Oh well, we drew the best card in our deck. I'm not playing the Irrigated Farmlands because we're probably going to cycle the Irrigated Farmlands at some point. So we now have the best two cards in our deck, and he's already used one of his Censors, so he may not have a Censor for the Azcanta. By the way, what have you been into today, IQ Scarecrow? Thanks for stopping back, man. Oh, wow, we resolved a search for Azcanta. That's the best card in our deck in this match, by a lot. There's an argument for a third being in the deck, somewhere between the main and the side. I'm not exactly sure which. Rivulet Runes in our graveyard? Sure, we don't need more lands. We have a negate. There's no instant speed thing that we would use a negate on. If he casts a Supreme Will, we would let him have a Supreme Will, so we can go ahead and hit F6 here. Hey, we're up to 37 viewers tonight. Hello, 37 viewers. Yeah, but that's fine. Like, even if I didn't draw a single spell, right, till like turn 4 or 5, like, there's nothing we want to cast on those first 4 or 5 turns anyway. Literally, Search for Azcanta is the only card in the entire deck that we want to play before turn 4. Now, don't get me wrong. If we had a Supreme Will or something like that, we might cycle it to get more lands. But like, we didn't need anything else. We had all the spells that we needed. Oh wow, opponent's missing a land drop. That's not good for opponent. And so flipping Azcanta is so powerful in this match that, short of draw twos and counter spells, that we're pretty much going to discard any card to search for Azcanta. If you watch tonight, you'll probably get spoilers from yesterday. Keep that in mind. There's not any more matches after tonight for the next 5 days, so like, there's plenty of time to catch up. Hey, rip. Pepperoni. Alright, so we do want counter spells, I think. We don't want the land. It looks like we got the land anyway. We definitely put that on bottom, didn't we? Yep, we put it on bottom. And let's see what his scry does. We went ahead and glimmered in response because if he'd hit a blue land, he might have had a counter spell. And he put a card on top, so you can guarantee that it's a land from him. Little Gideon's a good card, but we have cast outs and stuff. We can beat a Little Gideon. For that matter, we can just play a cat at some point and beat a Little Gideon on the ground. Yes, planes to the graveyard. Censor to the hand. Oh, by the way, now that I see you guys spamming the emote, we need to thank Corey Coolcat for making the emote, and he's responsible for all the graphics on our stream. Thank you, Corey Coolcat. We appreciate you. It's kind of weird that he would attack here, but not worried about him attacking at all. Sure. Alright, so we're gonna cycle to farmland. Yeah, gotta show Corey Coolcat the love. Let's cycle to censor. I would Jace's defeat a Glimmer of Genius if he had one. Mainly because he's mana screwed. Normally I would not counterspell a draw spell, but where he's mana screwed, we would in this situation. Alright. Well, we've got several turns to hit something, but we do have to hit something. Again, we'll use Jace's defeat on a censor, or on a draw 2. We would not use it on a Supreme Will. More than anything, putting the Jace's defeat into the graveyard guarantees an Azcanta flip, even if we want to keep the top card. Which we would want to keep the top card if it was like a Regal Caracal or something of that nature. So. Sure, looks like we're going to take 4. What game are you talking about? I'm not actually sure what you're talking about right now, man. Alright, so search for Azcanta. We can guaranteed flip it. Negate in our graveyard. Wow. We'll keep the negate, I guess. We still will flip this thing. Kind of interesting now. I feel like I want to try to, or I feel like I want to play one of these Approach of the Second Sons. Just to pad our life total a little bit, but it's pretty easy for him to counterspell it. He gives us an extra turn on the clock, though. Extra 2 turns on the clock if it resolves. Sure. And the odds of him untapping and having a land was very, very low. And about the only thing we were worried about. So he played his own search. So now we're in this weird spot where his Gideon's way ahead of us. And we have to fight this game over this Gideon now. Which isn't something that we want to do. But we're kind of forced to do. Sometimes we're lucky. Sometimes you boys gotta know when to hold them and know when to fold them. He had, the Gideon lets him not lose, so we have to deal with the Gideon before we can win. Hour of Revelation. Well, that's not getting counterspell, or that's not resolving. And next turn we have an approach plus a negate, so it doesn't even matter if he has a land, he's just dead. There's nothing he can do. And we have negate back up even if he has Spell Pierce. Or we could just pay for it if he has Spell Pierce, but whatever. Alright. So we're 3-0 versus blue-white approach mirrors at the moment because we seem to be playing Azcanta while other people are not playing Azcanta. And Azcanta, even if we didn't get any value off using the Azcanta that game, look at, like, let me try to slow down, actually speak intelligently. Like, when you're playing a control mirror, this being able to impulse at the end of each of their turns already amazing. But like even in this game, we did not get to use that ability any. But what all did this card do for us anyway? This card let us put 1, 2, 3 cards in our graveyard that we didn't want to draw, and it let us be able to play around the Spell Pierce. Like it did a ridiculous amount of stuff even in a game where we didn't get to use its better ability. Like, that card's just so good in these control mirrors. Anyway, so we've locked up a pity chest. We're going to jump into the next match. And apparently Moto's slowing down again. Oh, never mind, it's back. That's unfortunate. I was kind of hoping that it was slowed down enough to give me an excuse to leave. Anyway, for those that are new here, make sure you click the follow button down below in the stream. We very much appreciate the follows. And if you really, really like what you're seeing, down below the stream, there is 2 little banners. One of them with a link to my Twitter. And on my Twitter, you can see every time I go live, all the deck lists I play, and my random thoughts and stuff on just mostly Magic-related things and conversations with people. Also, there's a link to my YouTube down below. Following my YouTube helps promote me greatly and makes me very appreciative even if you don't like to watch YouTube videos. On the YouTube, you'll find all of our streams. They're everyone 24 hours delayed because of the affiliate agreement with Twitch. But every stream will be found there. Some content that's not been streamed will be found there. But in all honesty, very, very little content that hasn't been streamed will be there. Unfortunately, I have a 1.5 to a 2.5 upload speed. So, like, me uploading videos right now is ridiculously time consuming. It took me like 13 hours to upload a League one night. And that's kind of depressing. But if you do happen to be watching from the YouTube, keep in mind that in every video, in the links below it, or in every video, in the description below it, there is links to both the Twitter, my Twitch, and the deck list we're playing for that event. Alright, so this hand is uncommonly slow, but we've already mulliganed, and we have 2 cards that are able to scry. He'd mulliganed once as well, so I believe this hand is a keep, and I believe this hand's actually reasonable versus most any deck other than Red Deck Wins. Like, we're pretty happy with this hand. Obviously, we can just get ran over or whatnot, but like when you're mulliganing, you don't have a whole lot of options. You just have to go with what you have. And based on what he plays on turn 1 and what we draw on turn 1, we'll be making our decision on whether we're going to be cycling this farmland or not this game. Like if we draw another land immediately, we're certainly just going to be playing it, but that's fine. Whenever it attacks, each opponent loses 1 life. Well, that's kind of a cool little 2-drop. Opponent's on some kind of black brew. It'd be cool to see if it's just like a vampire tribal deck or whatever. He does have mismatched lands, so we're already not a fan of this guy. Like, this guy's our mortal enemy and he doesn't even know it. But it is another black deck, which means it's another deck that has access to Lost Legacies. Our opponent's 2-0 as well. So, like, he's not going to be a pushover. It's probably just a mono black aggro deck, which I believe are very reasonable right now. Especially the rare Menace Pirate. The rare Menace Pirate is very, very, very good. By the way, hello, Necromosh. I don't think I've saw you around before. Welcome to the channel. So 3 swamps in a row means he probably is some kind of like aggro deck. Well, I mean, there's a lot of brews out there right now, right? So like you would even call Dinos a brew, but I do believe mono black aggro is a real deck. I believe there is a black red aggro deck out there too. That's like we already knew there was a red black aggro deck that had like a light splash for red spells, but I believe there'll be a black deck with light splash for red spells. I'm going to assume most of the little aggro decks are just worse than mono red, but like until we see what they're actually playing, that's not something we should say. Alright, so that's a card that hits real hard, real quick. Settle the Wreckage is pretty good here. So we're at least going to take another slap for 7, putting us at 9. At the very minimum, another slap for 7. There's a good chance that we cycle to Cast Out now, since we have to Settle the Wreckage. Depends a lot on what he plays this turn. Hey, thanks for the follow as well, Necro. Appreciate that. So we're up to 40 viewers tonight. Having another pretty good night. Currently 3-0, 16-2 with the deck overall. A Rune Raider. Well, we don't have anything that we can counterspell it. Yeah, that's mainly what I was thinking about was right, so hopefully we don't see a discard spell here. We did not see a discard spell. We saw a dead spell. There's not a creature in our main deck. Alright, so if he has a discard spell, we're just dead. There's an argument that we could have kept the cast out so we wouldn't be dead to a discard spell. Yeah, it was a mistake to cycle that. Now we just die to duress. Good call, JJ. Because if he has duress and he takes a Settle the Wreckage, we're dead on board. Whereas if we had the cast out and he took the Settle the Wreckage, we could hit the Omit and untap and play the Fumigate. Yeah, that's a very good call. That was a punt by me. If anybody wants to put the exclamation mark pun in chat, that was a very bad play by me. Yeah, the new Dark Confidant's very good. We're not just dead if he has a cast out or if he has a duress. We can always cycle to Censor and hit an Effort Meltdown and then get the untap and Fumigate, but like we put ourselves in a much worse spot when we didn't need to put ourselves in a much worse spot. So it looks like he's thinking about Settle the Wreckage now. Which is kind of odd. Like, I feel like you have to attack into the Settle the Wreckage anyway, unless you think you can beat the Fumigate. Because if you just let me untap, you're giving me a chance to have even more of them. Like, if he just attacks with one creature right now, like, cast out would be beyond brutal. Luckily for him, we don't have to cast out, but hey. Hey. That's because I'm a bad Magic player, not because the deck doesn't love us. So he's going to keep the Bob, which is fine. We have to Settle the Wreckage here. It's too much not to. So we're waiting for our priority so we can cast Settle. Yeah, I really wish we had that cast out now. Alright. I don't know if it's me or if it's Moto or it's what. Alright, there we go. So he was right to keep his Bob. And we're getting closer and closer to 1,300 followers. Corey loves it, by the way, when we advertise for him. So again, we need to say thank you, Corey, for all of the graphics and stuff on our screen. We highly appreciate it. So Moto might be lagging again. My frames seem to be doing okay. And I'm checking some stuff on another browser and everything seems to be going well too. So it's either on it seems like it's on opponent's end maybe. Yeah, so we're still waiting for this. I mean, I don't want to belittle his internet or anything. Like we know Moto's having problems and stuff tonight, so maybe he's just getting hit by the problems we were getting hit by earlier. He could be duo queuing or something as well. He could have real life things going on. Maybe spilled a drink. Who knows? I'm gonna try something tonight that I don't know how it's gonna work out, and we're gonna find out the hard way. It's gonna be an experiment. Experimente tonight. We're gonna see how our frames work when we have this thing going on. So if the frames get considerably worse, just let me know. If it like starts sputtering or anything, let me know and I'll stop what I'm doing over here. Could be honoring you, Hefner, as well. Fair enough. Yeah, that was pretty saddening to see him go. So opponent hit another relevant creature, by the way. But I think it's fine, providing that he doesn't have a mitt. We should be able to get to our approaches in time. I have not tried Farm to Market. Farm to Market doesn't seem like an appealing card to me. It being 3 mana is already aggravating because when we're on the play, when we would want to be using it, is the same turn that we can typically be casting Glimmers, which is the most important spot in the deck, I think. It also fights for being cast versus Supreme Wills and things of that nature. The market side of the card is pretty interesting, and if market itself was a sorcery, or an instant instead of a sorcery, we would definitely be trying the card, but I've not tried it yet. I have noticed in the past 2 days that multiple of the 5-0 lists have Farmer's Market, so I should probably give it its due and give it a test, but as of now, we haven't tested it yet. How have I liked Rivulet? Rivulet has been absolutely insane. It blows my mind that more players don't play Rivulet. It's earned its keep over and over and over. Like just last round, we won because we got to Rivulet our opponent's second approach when he was trying to draw it. Like, and it helps you get to your approaches quicker versus the grindier matches versus like blue black control and blue red control before our come out. You could literally kill your opponent with them. Like game one, your plan was just decking them. Like the Rivulets have so earned their keep, and you so rarely take damage from them. That being said, I believe because all the new legendary enchantments are so good, we have to work Field of Rune into the deck somewhere. Probably 2 copies of Field of Rune, and we may have to lose 1 Rivulet for it down to 2. I'm not exactly sure. I'm gonna have to play a little bit with the mana, but the Rivulets have been very good. Field of Rune has been very good. I apologize for the slowness right now, but like I said, it might not be a opponent's fault or anything. Farmer Market's a card that doesn't seem good to me, but so many people are using it that it's I'm not infallible. Like I can make mistakes. I'm often wrong about things. Most people are often wrong about things. So like I should at least test it at some point if so many people are on it. We're cycling this because we could hit another farmlands and we really want an untapped land for the following turn. He also has, a million lands out, so it's not reasonable to think that we're going to get to censor anything. But the reason we're doing it now is because we could be hitting a tap land. Field of Rune's good because cards like Azcanta, like Legion's Landing, like the Black Greed, all of those enchantments flip into legendary lands, and you can kill their legendary lands with the rune. That's fair. The Effort Meltdowns have been underwhelming for me as well, but we went 33-8 when we were testing Mono Red. So like hold on a second. So maybe I'm a little more worried about Mono Red than I should, and like when you're on the draw, having a 2-mana Pseudo removal spell is so much more relevant than having a Farm to Market. Also, Farm to Market doesn't interact with gods as well. But it's something that I probably should test at some point. We might actually, if we play Blue White Approach tomorrow, we may test it. I don't know that we'll play Blue White Approach tomorrow. I'd kind of don't want to play it a whole bunch of days in a row because I think people get tired of it. And this is our 3rd stream in a row, and 4 out of 5 days that we played Blue White Approach. But like, it is something I need to try. Like the card itself is good. It has a good rate, and its flashback is a relevant ability. So opponent did say it was his internet. He could be having the same issues we were having earlier. This week our Friday Night Magic is draft, so luckily for me, I don't have to build anything new this week. Just get to draft and not think. If I was going to Friday Night Magic, I don't like to play the decks that we're playing on stream. Opponents actually DC'd this time. So like, even though I think Blue White Approach, Temur Energy, and Mono Red are like the 3 best decks. And I'm not saying they're the best decks overall, but like the cream that jumped to the top, the easiest to build decks. So like the level 1 decks, so to speak. So like, I probably wouldn't play any of those decks at Friday Night Magic because those decks are the decks we're most likely to see on coverage this weekend or that we're most likely to stream the next couple of days. I'd probably play something fun. I might try that Esper list that somebody linked us yesterday from the Hyrule Pros, or I may have played Gabriel Nassif's Esper Creatures deck. I'd probably play something like that for a Friday Night Magic. Like, you guys know how much I play Approach, right? I go to Friday Night Magic every week, and I still only played Approach one time in paper because I just don't like playing the same decks in paper that we play online. I kind of have deck ADD. Uh, I get tired of decks very very quickly. I actually haven't got tired of Approach yet, but I was afraid if I was playing it in paper that I would get tired of it. Approach just offers so many interesting lines while being a very powerful deck. I am just a massive fan of Approach. I do. There's another streamer called, and forgive me when I say his name because I am going to butcher his name, but it's like Chris Botticello or just something of that nature, and he's had quite a few interesting decks lately too that I'm very interested in trying. I only played that once in paper, but I played a 21 land build of it, and the 21 land build of it uh, was not working out very well for me. I think Godfarrow's Gift got actually a lot weaker with Mausoleum Wanderer rotating. I can't promise that, Corey, because I don't own a lot of those cards. Like, I'm still not willing to spend $4.50 on Vraska's Contempts and stuff. Kind of, you know me. I kind of live on a pretty strict budget. And for what ticks we have earned the next couple of days, we're probably going to have to use to update our deck for the challenge this weekend. There's also a Pro Tour qualifier this weekend that I'm considering playing. I apologize again for our opponent's internet. It's a little unfortunate to happen. It kind of like slows down the momentum of the stream and stuff, but it is a game. It's played all around the world. There's going to be problems. Luckily, they don't happen very often. Opponent's been going 4 minutes right now, so he still has 6 minutes to come back. It's my buddy Al. He's my League of Legends duo partner. Unfortunately, he can't. Again, I have a problem where my upload speed is between 1.5 and 2.5, so I can't even send him videos. He's offered to. Corey has offered to do all of that. I keep making jokes about Corey doing the stream and stuff like that. Like, Corey's offered to do so much for the stream, and it's what he does for a living. It's just I kind of like am I don't know. I kind of like just keep putting it off and putting it off. He's volunteered to edit my videos and everything, but like I can't send him the videos is the problem. He has no way to get the videos because of my internet. He's offered to make us an overlay. He's offered to make us alerts. He's offered to do everything. If we played a Commander Challenge this weekend, I think I will let him help out between rounds. No guarantee that we'll play it, but I'm looking to play it. I want to play it. Spiking another top 8 from the Commander Challenge helps to stream a whole lot because it lets us buy more cards and lets us experiment with decks more. And I specifically like to keep bringing up his name and thanking him all the time because he gets aggravated by by me advertising his name when the stream looks like this. He is the guy who made our emote, though. You get it through Streamlabs, and I tried to set it up on my own one day, and I was way too stupid to set it up on my own. Um, but he should be able to help with that at some point too. Oh well, Corey just crushed my dreams. Apparently, we won't be working on it this Saturday. Maybe we'll get time to on Sunday or something. Who knows? Congratulations to your mother. I hope this time sticks. It sounded rude the way I said that. Alright, so opponent's back. He's only got 6 minutes, so if we go all 3 games, he's going to have a hard time winning. It's one of the unfortunate things about Moto, but like you do have to set some kind of limit on them. You can't give them infinite time because if you gave them infinite time, there would be too many salty people that would just sit there for like 20 minutes or whatever. You know, just because they're mad at you or some random thing. So we hit our land. And unless he has some kind of discard spell main deck, we just win next turn. But even if he does have a discard spell main deck, we have a large amount of life to work with now. And we have another opt and we have an Effort Meltdown. If she's got money, Corey, you can send her my way. I'm single. So we have to see what opponent has here. That does not look like a discard spell. Alright. So double approach. The opponent has 5 minutes and 30 seconds to win 2 games. It's not impossible, but it's certainly not easy for them. Again, versus all these little aggro decks we bring, especially the black-based aggro decks, I probably couldn't fit in a bins. We get all of these 6 cards that we bring in every time because we're worried about Lost Legacy post board. Lost Legacy is a real threat. He didn't show us anything that we needed to counterspell, so we're immediately just going to take the Supreme Legacies out. His deck also didn't look particularly fast, so we're going to leave the Search for Azcanthas in, which means we're going to shave an opt and an approach. Versus decks that have Lost Legacy, I often don't mind to cut down on a couple approaches because they're typically not the kill condition anyway. But I do like to leave them in the deck just to keep our opponents honest. Because, like, he doesn't have to have Lost Legacy, right? Like, they don't all play it. If we see anything more relevant than an Emit Eternal, we'll bring the Supreme Wills back in for game 3. I also think Supreme Wills are considerably worse on the play than they are on the draw. This hand's a keep. What's the LOL to? Did I say something wrong? I live in Eastern Kentucky, so I might have said something wrong and not realized it. Oh, the me not fitting in the bins comment. Gotcha. Sorry, guys. I am super slow and not very bright. I apologize. Hope it's not too late to apologize. Yeah, that joke doesn't get any worse ever, does it, boys? That joke is just gold. Duress? You're probably going to take my cast out, so let's get rid of it. And hopefully we don't draw a better card than cast out. Alright, we didn't draw a better card than cast out. Nice. Thumbs up. Hope he has a way to stop the Cat Scratch Fever Brigade. And by hope he has a way, I mean I really hope he doesn't have a way to stop the Cat Scratch Fever Brigade. Opponent's playing very fast this game. If we don't hit something to like slow the game down, he's got plenty enough time to beat us in 2 rounds. That little thing right there is hitting pretty hard, pretty quick. 2 damage a turn. So we need to draw some kind of spell to like try to slow the game down and get the tempo in our favor. Because I assume he's going to resolve some kind of spell here. Yeah. Rip. That's not good. It's not good for us at all, fam. And we get to play a cat next turn, though. The cat's not nothing. This is a 2-turn clock that he has. Would much rather draw a Fumigate and just not have to worry about the cat this turn, but we'll take whatever we can get. Uh-oh. Fumigate? 1 time, second Fumigate. That's not a second Fumigate. Alright, so it looks like we're playing a cat and doing some blocking of some kind. If he doesn't have a removal spell for this, it does a lot. Could easily have like a walk to plank or something. Oh boy, if he doesn't have something though, that's pretty rough for him. Alright, so what do we got here? Gante. Nice. Nice, fam. He didn't have a removal spell, so now we can just slam the other cat, or we can potentially draw a Fumigate. Exile all cards and all lands. Alright, so let's figure out what all these things do. I don't know what all this stuff does. Fumigate. Whenever this creature becomes blocked, defending player loses 3 life. So if I make this block, do I lose 3 life? I don't think I lose 3 life if I do that, do I? Now that doesn't seem like something we want to do at all, does it? We can just do this. We lose 1 of our cats. We break even on life at 4. We get rid of 2 of his bigger threats, and then we get to make a large attack next turn. I don't think this is wrong. This feels very fine. So we gain 4, we lose 4. We break even on that. He loses 2 of his threats. We get to keep all of our cats. We play our second cat next turn, and we attack for a bunch lifelink. Hey, Dumbo. What's happening, man? Feel like this is the right block, because we don't want him to draw an additional card, and we get to keep this cat and this cat. He's also hellbent, so it's pretty hard for him to beat just our cat. And we're going to attack these cats into that Gontu. A, I want to pad my life total, and B, I don't care if they trade 1 for 1. We still have plenty enough blockers to like deal with the Imminent Eternal on the bottom. Alright, so he chose not to even block. That's kind of interesting. I wonder what he's got to make the not block right. Could he hit a cast out, I guess? Cast out does something there? So it's just 6 damage? Alright, we just take 6 damage then. Hey, Cora Mersa. How you doing, man? I don't know if I've noticed you before. So like he has to have a pretty good spell. Again, I don't care if our thing's that wow. That actually changes things, doesn't it? Yeah, I think that changes things. We don't want to. We're winning the race by a lot, so I think it's safe to just go ahead and play cast out. We know he's hellbent, and we know this one card doesn't really affect us. The best thing it can be is like an Effort Meltdown. But even if it is an Effort Meltdown, we're gaining 13 points of life this turn. So we're not really worried about losing the race. Yeah, it's pretty good. I'll be posting. I have one approach video on YouTube right now. I'll be posting 2 more later tonight if you're interested whatsoever in them. But yeah, it looks like the Cat Scratch Fevers are probably pulling another game out of the side or out of. Probably pulling another game out. Doomfile, target opponent exiles a creature he or she controls. Alright, we'll exile a little kitty. That doesn't really matter too much. He can't block all 4 things. He's got access to 1 card from our deck, but the 1 card for 2 mana is irrelevant. But yeah, I try to post. I stream every day, and I try to post a video on YouTube every day. We play a lot of Approach here. Have 31 videos pre-Ixalan, but nobody's interested in pre-Ixalan, so 4-0. Moving into the next round. Go ahead and pop up the deck list, update our spreadsheet, save our spreadsheet, and time to advertise. If you like what you're seeing here, everybody, make sure to click the follow button down below. And if you really like what you're seeing here, make sure to go check out the Twitter. You can follow the Twitter to see every time we go live, every deck list we play, random thoughts and stuff just about Magic in general. On the YouTube, you'll find every stream we play. If you're watching from the YouTube, if you look below the video in the description of every YouTube video, I have a link to both my Twitch, my Twitter, and my deck list. Keep in mind that all streams go up on YouTube 24 hours delayed, unfortunately, due to the Twitch affiliate agreement. You agree not to post your content anywhere for 24 hours, which is a little unfortunate. But there'll be two more Approach videos going back up today. Man, the ops have been great. I'm kind of souring a little on the Supreme Wills, but it's hard for me to not want the ops. I've been a real fan of the ops. We have not tried Esper Approach, mainly because I don't like coming to play tap lands, and I can't imagine wanting to put more coming to play tap lands in my deck. But I've had a number of people come into chat and specifically ask me about Esper, so we might look into it just for the sake of science. The Supreme Will does help you get back to second approaches. Anyway, so we'll play first. This hand's... We got a couple Scryers, we got a couple early interactive spells, we got a couple lands. So I think this hand overall is a keep, but it's on the weaker side of hands that we could keep. Surprisingly enough, this is on the weaker side of hands. It's also a nice instant for the Gearhulks out of the sideboard. Like we can't lose too many Gearhulks out of the sideboard. Go ahead and start with the Glacial Fortress because there's some world where we draw like an irrigated farmlands and want to play it on turn 2. Alright, so he's some kind of blue-black deck. We're going to hope he's blue-black Pirates and not blue-black Control, especially based on our hand having 4-ish dead cards in it. Alright, so no telling which one he is, but we're going to go ahead and melt down that and hope to draw a land for our turn. Land? One-time land. I want to say one-time land a lot, by the way, because we want to draw like 13 lands. Yeah, black gets you a 1-mana removal spell. It gives you Lost Legacy and it gives you Vraska's Contempt. I don't know about Scarab God in this type of deck, but it does technically give you access to Scarab God as well. Speaking of which, because we're playing versus blue-black Control and Scarab God's an actual thing, we're going to Supreme Will to look for our land as opposed to get rid of the cast out. Now we know an approach is 3 cards from the bottom, so that's something to remember. I think the blue-black match is going to be a lot harder now because we don't have hieroglyphic illuminations anymore. I think that's going to be a fairly relevant thing. So they have enough lands that they can cycle a land. That's always scary because the land count is what matters so very much in this match. But we need to cycle a little bit, so we'll go ahead and cycle the Censor to start with. And we'll actually cycle a cast out as well. Probably just one cast out though. Hitting the land next turn is so important that we just kind of have to. The Azcanta is the best card in our deck in the blue-black control matches. So we're going to try to set up a way to be able to protect it. We're probably going to cast a Glimmer on his turn, and he may use a counterspell on it. But if he doesn't use a counterspell on it, we'll just slam the search. He may respond with his own Glimmer as well. Alright, so opponent just conceded because he's missing a land drop, which is exceptionally weird since he discarded this land. Like, I don't get that at all. If you're conceding because you miss a land, you should definitely be discarding this land, right? We could be trying to conserve the clock as well, but like we're lower on the clock than him. I'm not a fan of this concession. The only way this concession makes sense to me is if he's actually a blue-black aggro deck that just got the most horrendous of draws in the world. But anyway, let's not focus on what we think is wrong with them. Let's focus on trying to win the next match. And versus the control matches, we bring it all in, folks. We just bring everything we got in. The cats are a little weird to bring in because it gives more value out of their Scarab Gods. However, that being said, they could have Lost Legacies in their deck. Cards that don't seem particularly good versus them. The Effort Meltdowns don't seem particularly good, but unfortunately they're somewhat needed. The Fumigates also don't seem particularly good to settle the wreckages. I've saw a few. Like Gabriel and the Thief used to play some. I was going to the blue-black control because he just didn't play anything but one creature for 4 or 5 turns. But, anyway, back to sideboarding. So, because of Lost Legacy, I really feel like I need to alternate win conditions out of the sideboard. There's some number of these Wrath of Gods and stuff that we're not going to need in the main deck. But we're going to need access to a few of them. Because we don't exactly know what our opponent's playing. That being said, I don't know what the last cards to sideboard out is, since I don't really know what he's playing. Normally the last 2 cards to sideboard out are Fumigates if we know he's exactly playing blue-black control. So like, I kind of want to hedge and leave a couple Fumigates in. I'm probably going to take out the Ops. But that doesn't seem particularly good. Maybe I just won't bring all the cats in. We'll try this. We need a little bit more information about what his deck is to appropriately sideboard. It's less about the target's removal and more about like he could just be playing Lost Legacy, right? And then like our approach doesn't win. If he's playing blue-black control or if he's playing the other one, like Lost Legacy is a relevant card. Like we really have to worry about Lost Legacy. If we know more of his list, we can sideboard a little differently. Like if we knew he's not playing Lost Legacy, I wouldn't bring in any of the cats at all. If we knew he was on a creature build, we would have in more Fumigates and more Settled Wreckages. If it's just really about us not actually knowing what he's playing. He showed us he showed us 6 lands and a Efferborn, so it's really hard to put him on any particular deck right now. Well, we have the best card in our deck, so we're going to keep this hand, even though this hand seems like it's a little slow. Turn 1 Duress, well, that's unfortunate. He gets our best card. Oh, by the way, hello, Vinyl and Spectralus. I don't think I've saw you guys before. Thanks for stopping by, and welcome back, 10th Degree. It's going pretty well. We're 4-0 in this event. We're 17-2 overall. We're versus a match that I think isn't a particularly great match. We don't actually know what our opponent's playing, but if he's playing any of the 3 decks we just mentioned, I think all of them are a decent favorite versus us, at least post-board. So he did leave the card in that keeps us honest, which is unfortunate. Like, that card's going to do a lot of damage to us. We don't have that many answers to it either. We have 4 cast outs, 2 fumigates, and being able to block it. That's all we're on right now. Rip, boys. Probably not winning this game. Well, there's a fumigate. So you're saying there's a chance. I hadn't looked at the new swamps. That's not too bad. Not a fan of that island at all. Oh wow, he's got mismatched lands. I hope this guy knows that we're not his fan if he's got mismatched lands. Hopefully he plays something. Like, we really need him just to cast something. I'm willing to cast Supreme Will on literally anything that I can resolve a Supreme Will on right now. So he knows we have the Supreme Will, so I'd rather play the Supreme Will than the Negate. Also, the Supreme Will is something that we can flash back with the Gearhulk, which, if everything goes according to plan, is something that we'll be wanting to do in 2 turns. It does kind of suck to discard the Supreme Will itself, though, because he could just easily just slam some kind of creature, but whatever creature he slams, we at least can fumigate. So we just want him to play another spell that we can use to negate on now to get a card out of his hand. A land and a spell is best case scenario for us. Agante? That's fine. So the fumigate should probably resolve now. We have a negate if he has a duress. Could just hit 4 lands. We hit just 4 lands earlier. Hey, TJC, welcome back, man. Doing pretty well. Had some computer problems. The power's been out today, but everything's going well right now. We're in game 2 of round 5. So, basically, you're right on time to see this match be close to over. So, opponent has 1 card in hand plus the card he got from us. Which the card he got from us could be anything, including a boat. Yeah, that joke doesn't get old either, and you guys know it. Hopefully it's just not a Regal Caracal, because that would be pretty brutal for us. Alright, so now we're drawing Finn. We're drawing Finn to a cast out now. Can take 3 draws at a cast out, or we could just slam a Torrential Gearhulk. Kind of interesting. I'm not actually sure which one's the better play here. I'm not actually sure which one's the better play here. It's probably holding up the Gearhulk. Yeah, I feel like holding up the Gearhulk's probably the better play. I don't care if he gets 1 trigger off the Scarab God. He held his mana up. That's a little frightening. Might have a Vraska's Contempt or something and wanting to hit us for 5, but like that's not horrible for us if that's what's happening here. He knows we have the Gear Hulk, so he knows he can attack. He could have hit a counterspell too to stop our Gear Hulk. Like he could have a Supreme Will. If he has a Supreme Will, that's not terrible for us. Could hit a Censor. Could just have a bunch of negates. So anyway, we're just looking for Cast Out. We don't want anything but Cast Out. None of those cards are a Cast Out. The search for Azcanta seems like it's too slow here, so we're just going to grab the Glacial Fortress. Put those on the bottom in any order. We're going to start with the Opt, maybe? Kind of interesting. Like, he outpaces us on board currently. We really need a Cast Out. Alright, we're going to start with the Opt and look for a Cast Out. Certainly don't want you. Certainly don't want... Alright. You're reasonable. Maybe we can find a Cast Out before it's too late. Probably can't. I would say we're too far behind now. I'd say the Scarab God has just come down and won this game. But that's fine. It's something that's going to happen. So we can block Dagante at least, but if we block Dagante, he gets his Gear Hulk back. Or gets our Gear Hulk back, which isn't something we want. So we'll probably just take 4. Probably take 4 this turn. So now he has 2 of our cards. Gonti or Scarab God's a one-man wrecking crew, that's for sure. Alright, so we have a Cast Out and we have an Approach. Is the game winnable if we take the Cast Out? I think the game's winnable if we take the Cast Out. It's certainly not an easy game. But I do believe it's winnable. Jace's Defeat's actually a pretty relevant spell here, I think. Well, he didn't use the Cast Out, or he didn't use the Scarab God in response. That absolutely frightens me on what 2 cards he potentially got. So like maybe he hit a Cast Out and a Counterspell. Maybe he has 2 Cast Outs, who knows. It's certainly frightening. He still has 1 card in hand. It can be literally anything. A Hostage Taker. Alright, well hopefully he doesn't have another Counterspell. And he hit a Censor. Rip. That's bad for us. Alright, so boys, looks like we're just dead. Oh wow, he took that one? That one we can beat. We just draw a Fumigate and we beat that one. Oh, he can't take the Cast Out. Wow. Alright, well we've lived and learned today. Hey, thank you for the follow, the Hoots and Gravity X2743. Thank you guys. He has not cast a Lost Legacy, and we have not resolved an Approach either one. Yep, just found that out. We have learned, boys. We did not know that prior to that, though. That is news to us. I thought this was like an Oblivion Stone. So. Yeah, so we have chances this game. Like, we're certainly not a favorite, but we have chances. Another land is not good for us. But we know he's not a blue-based control deck now, so we can, like, rearrange how we sideboarded entirely. Alright, well, we easily just take 5 here, because if we draw another Regal Caracol, we get to go crazy. So, come on, Regal Caracol. Rip! Alright, well, we have a negate now. So what's this one? Tap 6 mana for a Gearhulk. Alright, well, that's game. Alright, so our opponent's playing something entirely different than what we thought he was playing. Alright, so based on what opponent has showed us, what do we want? We can probably get rid of the negates now. He didn't seem to have any powerful spells. The powerful spells that he did play were all from our deck. Like, every powerful spell he played come out of our deck. We definitely want all 4 Fumigates because Hostage Taker's pretty OP, and he showed us Gantes, he showed us Everborns, he showed us he showed us Gante, he showed us Everborn, he showed us Scarab God, he showed us the Hostage Taker or whatever. Hey Dumbo, welcome back, man. So, we probably also want the Effer Meltdowns. They kind of slowed the game down to a reasonable amount. So it looks very close to what Nassif was playing, as Koro's talking about here. And I've not saw Nassif's newest build, but his old build had like a Consign to Memory, some Champion of Wits, some Effer Meltdowns. Like, it didn't have any very powerful spells in it. It was like a creature-based control deck. He was also not playing Lost Legacy, so if he's not playing Lost Legacy, we might not need the cats at all. But just because he wasn't playing Lost Legacy doesn't mean that the opponent's not playing Lost Legacy. Anyway, so these are the cards that I think are fairly relevant versus them. The Jace's Defeat can counter a Scarab God. So what's not great here, then? I wonder if we can just get rid of the Regal Caracols. Regal Caracol might be too good of a card to let him get back with a Scarab God. But we may just be behind in most Scarab God games anyway. It does come down and, like, tie up the board pretty well. The Torrential Gearhulks don't seem great, but, like, it's the one thing that he can, it's the one thing that he can, like, steal that doesn't seem wonderful for us. I'm very tempted to just take out all 6 creatures. I'm very tempted to do this. Alright, let's try this. I don't really have time to think about it. The 4 cats should probably be in the deck. But it's whatever. If we lose, we lose. The 4 cats should probably be in the deck. This is more of an experiment than anything. I'm going to start with the turn 1 planes, because if he casts a turn 1 Duress and takes our Search for Azcanta, we'll probably cycle to cast out. Alright, so we're certainly not cycling it now that we have to Search for Azcanta online. But yeah, we're probably just going to lose the Lost Legacy at some point. We're up to 53 viewers to watch me lose the Lost Legacy. That's always our favorite thing to do. Most cards will be going to the graveyard that aren't exactly lands. Do I want to put an irrigated farmland into my graveyard? Not really. Like, it's not great, but it's something we can cycle if we very much need to, while still being able to hold up Supreme Will this turn. And if we miss on our land drop, or sorry, if we miss on the land drop, was something that we could play. Yeah, the Scarab God is going to be hard to beat. We have the 4 cast out answers to it though, so we're like really kind of relying on those. So he's not playing anything here. He's not playing anything here. I think I like going ahead and cycling this. We're leaving up the island as opposed. Alright, well, we hit the land anyway. So we got a Glacial Fortress for the graveyard. No, we don't want the Glacial Fortress in the graveyard either. We just need all the lands we can draw. And we may have to play a weird game where we try to mill them out, which would be very awkward. Yeah, I feel pretty favored in this match as long as he doesn't have Lost Legacies in the deck. If he has Lost Legacies in the deck, we probably can't beat it. So what's he got here for 4 mana? A Hostage Taker, and Hostage Takers do what now? Exile target creature or artifact. So it doesn't do anything here except for play a random 2/3. I think I'm fine with him having a random 2/3. We certainly want one of these lands. I don't think we want both. Probably just going to go ahead and cast Fumigate next turn and see if we can get him to play the first Scarab God. Don't really want to take a large pounding. That's kind of cute that he got his own Effort Meltdown, or that he got his own Gifted Everborn, by the way. But we're hoping he'll play Scarab God here. We have the cast out ready for it. So that's a Gonti. It was not a Scarab God. Glacial Fortress for the graveyard? Sure. Alright, well, we drew another Fumigate. Yeah, he can, but, like, if I counterspell it, he gets it back either way, right? We could have just took a whole bunch of damage from it, I guess. Like, that would have been reasonable to take a whole bunch of damage from it. So, there's Liliana. Liliana gets back a zombie. Put a Censor in our graveyard. Why, yes, we'll put a Censor in our graveyard. Do we want to flip to Azcanta? So we know we're going to cast out this turn, so sure, we'll go ahead and flip to Azcanta. Yeah, like, if it goes to the graveyard either way, he still has that access. So we have a counterspell now, and we have a Search for Azcanta activation if the game goes in that manner. Hey, we're up to 56 viewers. Don't you guys know League of Legends Worlds is on? You could be watching Fibonacci dominate Team 1. Which is highly what I expect, by the way. So opponent's going to play something else relevant here. Let's start with an opt, because I would rather use a Censor on it if we hit a Censor. We'll go ahead and leave the approach on top. And then we'll go ahead and counterspell that. So we're currently very far ahead as long as he doesn't have Lost Legacy. If he does have Lost Legacy, we're not going to win this game, friends. Let's keep a little mental note here that it's 7 cards down. And we'll go ahead and throw our last spell on this just to prevent damage. If he taps out to play a Scarab God or something of that nature, we can always just top deck an approach. Like, that's something that can be done. So he's tapping 4 mana. 4 mana is not a lost legacy, so that's good. 3 mana, 4, 5. So it's another Scarab God, which is fine. So we know approach is 6 cards down. So what do we got now? Go ahead and Supreme Will, I guess. Because he's got that Gante there, and that Gante is a real threat. The Gante, so we use 4 more cards down. We're down 2. No, we can't win next turn because he can get the Gante and mill our thing. Keep in mind that this Gante mills us 4 cards. Don't forget that the Gante mills us 4 cards. So it makes it very awkward to redraw that approach. So if we draw any Cycler and he doesn't have a counterspell, we win. We could have played the Azcanta in response, but like he doesn't have to use it, right? He can just wait till like our draw step. Use it after we draw. So either way, like we can't win that next turn. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We could have put approach in our hand if the land wait. Everybody's like missing the fact that like he has a Gante in his graveyard which mills us for 4. So if we use the Azcanta, he just uses that. If we don't use the Azcanta, he just uses that. Either way, we don't get the approach in our hand this turn. So we know what's on top of our deck now. And we have a counterspell to protect it. But you don't want to just put it in our hand that turn, right? Like we could have guaranteed drawn it that turn, but he's already showed us he's a deck that has Doomfalls, he's a deck that has Duresses, and he could have counterspells. So just like putting it in our hand and untapping and letting him do whatever he wants doesn't sound like a solid plan. I mean, that's probably the plan if we hadn't hit the cast out, but where we hit the cast out, we can afford to be a little lower on the action here. See, like if we just put it in our hand, he could have Doomfalled it. Anyway, thank you for following Shadowhawk, and thanks for stopping by again, Downcry, and the Henri Oscillate, Tuffy Ghost. Appreciate you guys stopping by. I don't think I'd saw you before. The deck's doing pretty good. MTG, MX, thanks for stopping by as well. I don't think I saw you before either. We're currently 17 and 2 with the deck. It just feels like we can the ways to lose the game outweigh the ways to win the game, it seems like. Alright, so we're just going to go ahead and pop this off. If he has a counterspell, he has a counterspell. We're not that worried about it. We're still at 20 life. And we can play the Search for Azcanta on the following turn. Alright, so he does have a counterspell. That's fine. We can play the Search for Azcanta, which helps us mill to another one. We still have plenty of life. He's down to 2 cards in hand. Oh, he's got Spell Pierce as well. Alright, so opponent does have a bunch of blue cards. Oh, thanks for stopping by, Hypo. Oh, thanks. What's your in-game name? Yeah, it's very solid right now. What's your build look like, Henri? Do you have any links to it or anything? If he's got a third Scarab God, we're in pretty rough shape. So our opponent's playing a much different build than the one that we're used to. We'll go ahead and cycle this. Play a Fumigate. Playing a Fumigate doesn't seem like it does a whole lot. I don't really care about putting his champion in a Whitsunder graveyard right now. Yeah, Search for Azcanta has been beyond insane. It's been the best card in our deck by a lot. So our opponents we kind of sideboarded in a manner that our opponent's deck looks very different game 2 than it did game 3. So it might be hard for us to win this game. We've been kind of confused about our opponent's deck this entire time. But we do have a Search for Azcanta out, and a Search for Azcanta hopefully will be enough to get some real pressure going for us. So it's just another Liliana. That's very bad for us. It's pretty hard for us to beat that. The only counterspell we had in our deck was at this point, was a Supreme Will, so like we couldn't Supreme Will it. Well, there's another approach. If he's got another counterspell, we're probably going to lose. It's kind of interesting. I think we just take the approach. I don't know if we cast it. I guess it depends on what we're going to draw here. If we draw our one Jace thing, I guess we cast it pretty easily. The Censor, probably still cast it. Might be a Supreme Will that he has as a counterspell. Alright, so he conceded. Alright, so we got back-to-back 5-0s with the deck, which is pretty nice. We'll pop up the deck list and do a small recap before we get out of here for tonight. We beat a blue-black control deck. We beat a mono-black aggro deck that looked kind of interesting. We beat a Mardu Tokens deck, which is a kind of getting the black-white tokens deck's actually pretty popular at the moment. His splash for red was kind of cool. It had the Dragon Poet dude in it. We beat a blue-black aggro tempo deck that had like counter spells and creatures, which is something that I thought would be one of our harder matches, so it was nice to get that win. And we beat an approach player who seemed to not have Search for Azcanta in his deck, which feels like a large mistake. Alright, so pop up our opponent's deck so that the people on YouTube can see it, since they can't click the link. Thank you guys for the appreciate. Oh, so you're splashing the Effer Hub for, what is that, 24, 34, 38, plus 15. You're missing some cards, right? What is that, 28, 38, 48? No, that's all the cards. What is your Effer Hubs for? You don't seem to have any black cards. Normally when I see Effer Hub, it's for a splash off Consign to Memory, but I don't see Consign to Memory in your deck. We're actually keeping the chest right now, Dumbo. We're trying to build a few more decks to test. I like to thank Jesus Christ, my faith, my producer. Fair enough. Oh, need to pop this back up. 1 second, guys. Sorry. What the hell? Where the heck did it go? Oh, there it is. This deck is the real deal. It was the real deal prior to... Thank you for following the Henri Ocelot. It was the real deal prior to rotation before. How has the farm and markets worked out for you? Because that's something that suggests it to us a lot that we've not bothered to try yet. Thank you for stopping by, Sticky Buns. I don't think I've saw you before either. I'm curious about how well these farm to markets have worked, because that's the card that we're most commonly suggested for us to play. Yeah, the Gideon is very, very, very good. In our experience, the worst match is mono red. If you lose to Dice Roll versus mono red, it can be very, very tough. That's one of the reasons that we still have all 4 Effer Meltdowns in the deck, just to have a little bit more interaction. There's also the white 1-mana Talon card, But like the white 1 mana Talon card is so much worse versus the rest of the field that like Everborn's at least usable versus Teamer and stuff. So that's the reason we chose it. But like mono red on the draw is very, very bad for us. So farm would be your first cut. That's fair. The cards that I would like to add to this deck, I would like 2 Gideons. I would like 1 Opt, and I feel like I need to make room in the land base for Field of Ruin. Those are the next things that I plan on trying. I also want to try Farm to Market. Not that I necessarily think Farm to Market's a good card, but like it's been suggested so much that I would like just to get some reps in to figure out what I like about it and what I don't. The 40 does hurt red, but the problem is like even if you're on to play, which I assume we just lose game 1, we only have like a 44% chance to hit the 40 in our opening hand, and sometimes you don't. We only have 12 untapped white source, or sorry, 8 untapped white sources for turn 1. So like sometimes you just can't play. Sometimes you just can't play the 40 on turn 1, and like sometimes you don't draw it till turn 3 or 4, and then it's a little bit too slow. I don't know what that card is, so. Oh wait, card inspiring. What was it? Inspiring cleric. 3 mana, vampire 3/2. When it enters the battlefield, we gain 4 life. That's probably a reasonable card, but Sunscourge Champion might be a little bit better of a card. The Sunscourge Champion blocks a little bit better, and you can buy it back after they kill it. But they don't really sideboard that much versus us. They sideboard the we can't gain life 3/3 dinosaur, which makes our 40 meltdowns and our regal caracols a lot worse, and makes our first approach not be as impactful if we've not removed it off the board. But they don't really have that much to sideboard. Some of them will have like some couple of glory bringers or whatever, just to have like a haste threat for when we don't have authority, or like the new vandal thingy. Downcry, Settle the Wreckage has been an average card. It's not been bad, but it's not been good. It's right on the borderline of whether I want to cut it or not. Like it's not firmly jumped in one column or the other. So like I'm looking for cards to replace it with. Gideon's probably what I'm closest to replacing it with. But we've not got paired versus a lot of what the settled wreckages are probably good versus, right? Like the settled wreckages are probably very good versus mono red and versus red green pummeler and stuff. And we've only played versus 4 mono red decks and 2 pummeler decks with this build, so the settled wreckage should go to the sideboard and maybe Gideon's main deck. I don't actually like Gideon's intervention in the sideboard. I think Gideon of the Trials is just better than Gideon's intervention for this match. For the mirror match, I just think it's better. Like, the ultimate does the exact same thing. It just feels like it's a little bit better. While being useful versus other matches, the Gideon's intervention itself is a card I would sideboard in 0 other spots. No pull for tomorrow, really. Like the deck's not a deep control deck. It plays more like just a style turbo fog deck. So like, and it's another card that's like dead versus the mono red decks and stuff. Like you never want to draw a pull from Eternity versus mono red. You rarely want to draw a pull of Eternity versus Teamer, and those are probably the 2 most popular decks in the format. Even drawing a pull for Eternity into Mirror's not that great because it's not a great draw early in the game, and like we have negates and stuff to like beat it in the late game. So like hieroglyphic elimination's probably even better in the mirror. But anyway, so that's going to be it for us tonight. I appreciate all 55 of you coming by. We're still learning on this deck. We're still theory crafting. We've not come to very many complete. We've not decided very many things, without a shadow of a doubt, except for Search for Azcanta insanely good. Jace's Defeat is constantly overperformed. Those are the 2 things I can say. The The Jace's Defeat has overperformed, and the search for Azcanthus have been amazing. But anyway, let's see who we're going to host tonight. It looks like Chris is on again, and Chris is mostly a standard player. I typically like to host standard players, and he always plays pretty sweet brews. Last night he was playing a really cool Abzan deck. The night before that he was playing a Teamer deck Teamer control deck that was playing Carnage Tyrant and as a kill condition over Torrential Gearhulk. That seemed really neat. And today he's playing Simic. Today he's playing a Simic Dinosaurs deck. So let's go ahead and give Chris the host. Thank you guys for all coming by. Remember, if you like what you see, give us a follow here. And make sure to follow both my links to my Twitter and my YouTube down below. And we'll be back. It'll probably be early in the morning this time. Because I do go to my local Friday Night Magic, so I won't be able to stream these hours tomorrow. So we will very likely get us an early stream in. So I have absolutely no idea what this is. So this is my buddy Sean giving me an open trade with me for some reason. I have no idea why. But anyway, take care, everybody. Oh. I know what it is now. This is to finish my one deck. But anyway, it's to finish our EDH deck. See you guys. Take care.